going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys a review for One Piece Chapter 893. And I gotta say, man, I'm loving Katakuri. Like, I gotta give him props. Like, my man figured out that Luffy was being interfered with in their fight. He's like, oh man, why do you look so miserable? You know, he's like, I was starting to get the hang of fighting you, you know, just when I was getting ready to call you my equal. You know, he's giving Luffy these compliments, and you can just tell he's super disappointed. He's super disappointed because he thought Luffy was essentially going to be the first real challenger that he's had. And what you end up happening is you have this moment where Katakuri realizes that Luffy's been getting attacked from afar. So we get this flashback to where Luffy was training with Rayleigh, and Rayleigh's telling him, like, look, you call it your imagination. You know, things that are just beyond the range of perception, the things that are just beyond your perception of reality, that's going to be the color of observation, Haki. And he tells him, he says, like, look, you know, this is that time where you got to get in touch with your senses. So I think that what was going on is, you know, Rayleigh was just teaching them the different types of Haki. That way they could find out what his strongest affinity was for. And so I like this moment here where, you know, Luffy's putting to use that training with Rayleigh. Like, we saw this briefly when he returned to, not Fishman Island, when he returned to Sayabody, and like the shot rang out and like Luffy was able to dodge at point blank range. So I mean, we've seen little small things like this, but what's so fascinating about this is that Katakuri is more of a man of honor than I even gave him credit for. So like, Katakuri's sister, she's laughing at Luffy. She's like, look at those knobbly knees. Look at the way everything's shaking. He's been gravely injured. And so Katakuri takes all this in. He's like, okay, I see what's going on here. So he walks up to his sister at point blank range, and he takes that huge ass trident that he has, and he stabs himself through the stomach. And he referred to what Luffy had as being a fatal wound. And he says, like, look, you know, he had a fatal injury. I've got one now. And then he takes off his mask and he says, like, well, you laughed at Straw Hat. Don't you have the balls to laugh at me? I like that right there. I really like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that Luffy, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say, I forgot who it was, but Luffy was fighting against somebody. He was fighting somebody. And there was something that happened as far as with the circumstances, and Luffy basically wanted to level the playing field. I can't remember who that was, but I do remember something like this happening with Luffy. So I definitely think that, you know, this is cool, the fact that you're seeing with Luffy and Katakuri, it's almost like they're bonding. It's almost like they're forming a brotherhood or that mutual respect. Even though they're both pirates, even though they're on opposite sides, there's a deep level of respect there. You know, like, this, I like this because, again, Luffy legitimately has a rival now. So, I mean, I thought that this was a nice way to kind of introduce that element right there. And I like how, you know, Katakuri, you know, after everything, after, you know, Luffy had continued to just show him his resilience, show him his resolve, Katakuri just, you know, held up to his end as a man and said, like, look, I've got an unfair advantage over you. And even though this is a fight, you know, technically there are no unfair advantages in a fight. If something happens, you know, that just happens. But I'm going to level the playing field because it's not right. So it's that honor thing right there. It's that honor thing. I like that a lot. It's almost like you're seeing a fight, to borrow a wrestling term, okay, to borrow wrestling terminology. It's almost like you're seeing a battle between two baby faces. It's almost like you're seeing a battle between two baby faces, and like they're shaking hands and they're not necessarily doing any dirty tricks. Like they're fighting with the intention of the best man's gonna win. And so I thought that that was interesting right there, because, you know, Oda, to have Katakuri make a turn like that is something you can tell he kind of built up towards. You know, a great way to kind of put it would be like how in WrestleMania 13 or 14, where you had Austin and you had it was either Bret or Owen Hart. It's been a while since I've watched that match, so I want to say it's Bret Hart, but they were wrestling, and they put the chair in the ring, and then they put the bell in the ring, and they end up bringing the bell in later on. But they had moments in that match where they're trying to make Bret Hart slowly turn heel. Well, in this case, you have moments where Katakuri is slowly turning babyface. So at this point of Katakuri, I'm not going to say he steps away from the Big Mom Pirates and joins Luffy. I'm not going that far. But if you told me Katakuri, after all this ended, maybe provide an opportunity for Luffy and the others to escape. I could totally kind of buy into that. So I mean, I thought this was good. I also like the ending of how Luffy and Katakuri, they're just unleashing so much of that Supreme King Haki that it just knocks everybody unconscious. And they're like, oh shit, this is Big Brother's. And that's, oh shit, it's Luffy's as well. And what I like is how Katakuri's like, look, you know, the peanut gallery's done. Peanut gallery's done. And he says they won't be able to stand up after all of this. And so Katakuri unleashes the Supreme King Haki, tears off his shirt, and then Luffy's unleashing it all at the same time too in order to counter. And you get this moment where Katakuri says, like, I'm no longer gonna assume that you're inferior to me. From now on, you're my equal. And he's drawn with just this super Chad macho design. I really like that, and I like how it's juxtaposed to Luffy having a more slender design. But at the same time, can we take a moment to just appreciate, no homo, but can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that when Luffy first started the series, Luffy was scrawny as hell, and over the span of 3 years, 3.5 years, 4 years, however long it's been since they first started their journey, not since the time skip, but since they first started their journey, Luffy's put on some muscle. Like that I admire that right there. That's pretty cool. Maybe it's Oda just deciding to make a aesthetic change with Luffy, because that's one thing you notice when you get into the new world. It's like Luffy has more muscle than before. He had a little bit of hint of muscle before the new world, but since we've been in the new world, Luffy's been a lot more ripped. So I like this. I hope we see Luffy continuing to just get that grown man body, okay? Like, you know, Garp has a grown man body. Like, Garp is like really, really fucking big. He's thick. Same with Dragon. They're both really big, burly dudes. And if Luffy kind of looked like that when he got older, I could totally see it, because Luffy's starting to fill all that out right there. So my chapter question to you guys is, how do you feel about Katakuri basically leveling the playing field with Luffy? How do you feel about that? And at this point, do you think that Katakuri actually sees Luffy as a legitimate rival, and vice versa? Let me know. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.